delighted to be here and welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for Elevate. I'm Katie Lundy and I'm a program associate here at Outlier Ventures. As Rumi mentioned, I used to work for one of our portfolio companies. And in my current role, I work closely with our founders during their 12-week journey on our Basecamp Accelerator programs. So today we're going to be showcasing our current cohort of 42 startups who are graduating from this season's Basecamp programs, as well as hearing from industry leaders on the state of the Open Metaverse. The theme of today's conference is all about how the evolution of AI and Web3 technologies are shaping the future of the web. We have an exciting agenda coming up for you, including a fireside chat with Timmu Toke, the co-founder of Ready Player Me, which will be hosted by Outlier Ventures founder and CEO Jamie Burke. And we'll also be having a panel discussion on how Web3 and AI will affect the creator landscape. You're also going to see some presentations delivered by the teams graduating from our flagship Basecamp program, our Zero Knowledge, Polygon, and Filecoin Basecamps as well. Now, before we jump into the full agenda for today, I'm joined, of course, by the wonderful Outlier Ventures partner and board member, Rumi Morales, and our Chief Product Officer, Ben Meyer. And we're going to get their perspectives on the wider adoption of AI before we jump into the program. So, Rumi, I'd love to start with you. Maybe given you have a background working in traditional financial institutions and having come from that world and come into the Web3 space, could you help give us some context about why, despite being around for some time, AI has suddenly received such a huge amount of attention and how this fits in with Web3? Basically, how do you see the recent growth of AI kind of fitting in with accelerating the adoption of an open data economy?
Yeah, that's a super important question. I think it's, that AI has been around for a long time. It's been around for almost 70 years, if you want to get technical about it. But it feels like almost just in this past year, everyone has started to act as if it's come out of nowhere. And I think that's because in many ways it is out of nowhere for most individuals to use, right? Before AI was almost created in a black box by either government institutions or dark agencies or large corporations, and it really wasn't available for widespread individuals like startups and artists and musicians and entrepreneurs. So I think what's really exciting about this time is because AI is now becoming more open, right, and distributed more broadly with other people. So that obviously dovetails nicely with this broader notion of an open data economy, Web3, crypto, and metaverse and the like. So for people who are now open to the idea of using and sharing AI with others, it becomes almost like a helpful Trojan horse in ways for other innovative technologies, especially those that are based on decentralization, to break through more widely. I've been in crypto for almost 10 years, but I wonder whether AI is actually going to be kind of the vehicle for which we can get crypto more broadly into institutions. And I don't, specifically, I think about when I used to work at the CME group, AI was always the easier sell as an innovative technology. Why? Because it focused more on cost reduction. It was an easier decision to say, oh, well, we can reduce some costs here versus blockchain, which was always going to be like a bigger build, a bigger infrastructure lift. But now that these are becoming more open, at least AI is, perhaps this is going to be the way that it becomes almost a packaged solution in ways by which distributed ledger technologies together with AI technologies in a broader open data economy can work with institutions. I feel like I just said a bunch of word salad at you, but I would say, like, in the perspective of history, like you think about the Industrial Revolution, for example, where you have one innovation that kind of breaks through and it unleashes a tidal force for other similar and related innovations to come through. We see this as well as in other things like the Jazz Age, for example, music, art, innovation. It's a natural progression. So I feel like AI is only going to be helpful to broader Web3 universes to be able to really explode in the future.
Absolutely. I love the synergy with arts and culture that you drew in there. And of course, we're all really excited to see where this leads and where it fits with the Open Metaverse. Now, Ben, maybe I can turn to you. I think, recently in my role as a program associate, I've noticed more and more of our portfolio companies building products around generative AI, or even using AI products to help them with their day-to-day tasks. In what ways do you see innovation in AI technologies affecting Outlier Ventures ecosystem, and what does it mean for the startups that we work with?
Yeah, it's a great question. Thanks for bringing that up. And I really loved Rumi's analogy to having AI looking at almost as a Trojan horse for the industry as well, because I think it's a great metaphor. I think in order to really understand where we currently sit with AI, especially within Outlier, I think it's good to give some context to everyone. I think for Outlier, AI has always been one of the core elements in our thesis and strategy. We've been covering AI actually since 2016, so quite early, especially when you think about it within blockchain. And we published the convergence thesis in 2018. And in 2018, in this thesis, we identified key trends that will shape the future of the Web3 ecosystem. And that included AI, which would create new business models and opportunities for innovation. Specifically speaking, we highlighted the role that AI would play in enabling the automation and optimization of decentralized systems. And shortly thereafter, we put our money where our mouth was, and we went on to invest in leading AI projects such as Fetch.ai, Ocean Protocol, and Fragnova. And if you see where we are now, fast forward 5 years later, and we have even stronger conviction in AI and the positive influence it'll have on Web3 founders and their projects. I mean, if you look at what's going on, you can't mistake reading about ChatGPT every day, in the headlines in the news. Obviously, it's taken the world by storm. The overnight inflow of talent and capital towards AI can only be described as unprecedented. Web3 is one of the many sectors poised to benefit greatly from advanced AI technologies. And furthermore, I think this has even greater impact for founders in the Outlier Ventures ecosystem. I think to put it simply, even if you aren't building an AI project, you will be affected by AI. And the impact can be broken down in two ways. On one hand, you will see across the financing landscape, already there's significant capital flowing into the intersection of crypto and AI. And we see an environment whereby investors will evaluate founders and existing teams partly based on their ability to understand how AI is incorporated in their business. Generative AI obviously is a new business entirely on its own. On the other hand, you see AI gives founders a leg up, or what I call a deeper bench. And what our CEO, Jamie, calls the 100x founder, an entrepreneur who can use AI to get to a skills and knowledge baseline to quickly get up to speed on any topic affecting their business and be more productive than ever before. A specific example would be that Web3 founders can now be more efficient with information processing, decision-making, and making informed design decisions. This will allow them to focus their gigabrains on time on building and launching new products and finding product market fit. In short, while AI is not a silver bullet, it does have the ability to make an excellent founder exceptional. And because of that, at Outlier, we will continue to closely follow the interaction of Web3 and AI and invest into promising founders. We may even build out dedicated programs in this continuously emerging space. And I'll just end with, I think there's a great quote by Benjamin Franklin that said, "Lost time is never found again." So I think it's a kind of a reminder that time is precious and a scarce commodity, and AI will save you time.
Absolutely. I totally agree. Having worked with the startup founders for quite a while now, I see that time is their main constraint. So excited to see where this develops. And thank you so much, Rumi and Ben, for giving us your perspectives and helping us set the scene. We're going to pass you over now to the main event. I believe Natalie Osman, Hanan Noor, and Elliot Lima are going to introduce you to the first round of presentations from our cohort members from the original Basecamp program and the Zero Knowledge Basecamp. Thank you.
really happy to have with me Hanan and Elliot, Basecamp PM and Zero Knowledge PM. So just as a little bit of background, you know, we are one of the most active investors in Web3 globally. We have over 220 startups from every region in the world across our Basecamp and Ascent programs. And we've helped them to raise over 350 million in seed funding. We are really proud to also have lots of partners that work with us, and we'll talk about that a little bit more in this session. Hanan and Elliot, I'm going to ask you two questions just so that we can get everything started. Hanan, you're as Basecamp PM. I would love to understand a little bit more about what that Basecamp thesis is.
Thank you, Natalie. So first and foremost, Basecamp this is our 9th installation, is the flagship Basecamp program at Outlier Ventures. So that means we invest in companies that are not tied to any protocols that we partner with or any thematics that we have a specific program for, like Zero Knowledge. So for Basecamp 9, we focus on 3 key pillars that are mainstream Web3, Web3 infrastructure, and DeFi protocols. So firstly, for mainstream Web3, we look at the ability to onboard the next billion users through simplified end user experiences. So any applications utilizing native account abstraction that scales self-custody, consumer tools like reward mechanism, crypto giving, and projects that utilize generative AI in democratizing content creation are some of our biggest bets. The second one is Web3 infrastructure, in which our interests lie in projects utilizing level L2 rollup innovations to advance L1 scaling, developer tools, and projects that invite innovations across computing primitives. And finally, we also invested in DeFi protocols, aiming specifically at projects that use blockchain innovation to bring Web2 use cases, like tokenized real-world assets and Forex hedging on-chain.
Fantastic, Hanan. Thank you so much. Elliot, would you like to explain real quickly the thesis behind Zero Knowledge Basecamp? Zero Knowledge, sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. So for the Zero Knowledge Basecamp, we took a similar approach with 3 main pillars that we looked at, between infrastructure, scaling, and privacy. On the infrastructure side, we were looking at any applications that made zero-knowledge proofs more accessible for developers, as it's still a primitive that is quite difficult to leverage at this point in time. So the types of projects we were looking at were SDKs and APIs, such as decentralized sequencing, and ZK primitives, such as private on-chain e-signatures. The scaling piece is all about offloading computation from layer 1s. And there we looked at all types of applications that benefit from this lower latency, specifically DeFi applications such as options and perpetual trading on chain, as well as cross-border settlements. And then finally, the privacy pillar, we were looking at bringing privacy and identity on chain. And there we have a host of applications ranging from identity and reputation to data and financial privacy, and also helping enterprise businesses leverage public blockchains while keeping certain business logic private.
Super. Thank you, Elliot, for that overview. So these are going to be our cohort companies that have just graduated. It's a 12-week program. We go through a lot during the program. I'd just love to know from you guys, from both of you, what's a highlight or favorite moment for the cohort as a whole? You know, when does that happen for you? Hanan?
It's hard to pinpoint one, so I'm going to give 2. For something that lasts for 12 weeks. So the first one would be the fact that I got to meet some of the teams across the world. So we went to Denver, San Francisco, Lisbon, Paris, Singapore. So we are meeting some of the cohort companies in our cohort, and Basecamp 9, that's one of the favorite moments. And the second one, more importantly, is actually looking at their development and progress over the 12 weeks, from the smallest things like how they're pitched to the biggest things like their valuations and like the fact that they pivoted the product into like something significant and really impactful.
Fantastic. Elliot, how about you? Favorite moments over these 12 weeks?
Yeah, I think that similar to Hanan, it's very difficult to pinpoint one moment, but I think that throughout the Basecamp, my favorite moments were really our weekly wrap-ups. This is at the end of the week when we get all the cohort companies to come together, share their achievements, but more importantly, this is where the companies get to draw on each other. So we have a lot of internal knowledge at Outlier Ventures that we get to share with the cohort companies. But when teams at similar stages come together and founders with different experience come together, then there's something quite magical that happens in the way that they support each other and really help each other through difficult roadblocks that they face in similar situations.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to add some of my favorite moments. I jump in the beginning and I meet everybody, and even when we're going through and trying to figure out who we're going to invest in, and to see the person or the company and the idea that we start with, and then after 12 weeks, a short 3 months, to see what's at the end. Both of you are every day in. It's just truly amazing what happens over that time period, and I find that to be really, really exciting. Obviously, we have touch points in between, so that's some really good times. Great, fantastic. Well, with that, I think we're going to be ready to start showing you guys some of short clips from our Basecamp and Zero Knowledge Basecamp, two of the 4 programs that we have. Just a reminder, we had 42 companies going through our accelerator program in this past quarter. So that was a highlight for us, the most we've ever had, but was very exciting. So thank you very much, and hope you can enjoy the fruits of our labor.
Are you tired of hitting roadblocks in your journey to build advanced apps? We get it, it's challenging. We are here to make your life easier. Blockless is a game-changing platform for app development and performance. Our ZK serverless execution is the way to go. With just a few lines of code, you can build advanced apps that span across Web 2 and 3, which would traditionally take a team of engineers millions of dollars to build. Our initial node offering is the growth hack that empowers your dApp to assemble your own community of loyal users to run your off-chain verifiable infra. It's a win-win, boosting community engagement and loyalty while setting your dApp apart from the competition. With the support of the Ethereum Foundation, official partnerships with BNB Chain, Celo, Sui, Protocol Labs, and more, we are giving you the tool to take your dApp to the next level. Join us now and see the difference.
Don't let poor user experience hold back the mass adoption of Web3. Web3 users currently have to deal with complicated onboarding processes, hardware wallets, a lack of recovery options, and many other time-consuming tasks. How will Web3 achieve mass adoption considering all the challenges? EtherSpot provides an account abstraction SDK to remove these pain points and drive the frictionless future of Web3. We offer an SDK, easy-to-integrate widget, and transaction kit, which enable dApps to make their services available to users cross-chain, with fewer required signatures and gas payments abstracted away. EtherSpot has been battle-tested over the past 3 years. Our smart contracts are audited by Consensus Diligence. More than 400,000 EtherSpot smart wallets were created over 14 EVM chains. Let's onboard the next billion users to Web3 together.
GivePact is a crypto fundraising platform for nonprofits. Let's take a look at how easy it is to give. Every nonprofit has a page on our platform where you can learn about them and their impact. Click Donate, connect your wallet, enter the amount of Ethereum, Bitcoin, or liquid ERC20 tokens. We'll also accept credit cards. Confirm your payment, and boom, you've just optimized your taxes and made a difference in the world. Join the community, building a better world in Web3. We are a passionate team with over 10 years of marketing experience in the nonprofit and private sector. We've also exited our own DeFi companies. GivePact has been written up by multiple publications. Given our innovative platform that's helping the 1.5 million nonprofits in the US without a way to receive crypto donations gets funds. We hope you join us in building the leading crypto donation platform.
Discover Me3, the innovative payment solution transforming Southeast Asia's engagement with Web3 payments. The platform connects users to decentralized finance, empowering asset control in a region with 650 million people and growing crypto adoption. Transitioning to Web 3.0 presents challenges for Southeast Asia. Me3's Keysmith and wallet technologies address these issues by providing a streamlined user experience, creating a self-custodial wallet in just 3 clicks and 16 seconds. The innovative Keysmith, a B2B approach enabling seamless integration into non-Web3 platforms, resulting in instant Web 3.0 wallet creation. Me3 capitalizes on the seamless digital payment integration process, tapping into a market where 70% of the population is unbanked, bridging gaps and reshaping Southeast Asia's financial landscape.
Hi guys, this is Nathan, CEO at Nomics. There won't be anything too fancy about this video because we are token engineers, we are not fancy people, but what we're doing is very interesting, so bear with me. Nomics, we call ourselves the Web3 economic safety, okay? The problem we're tackling are several. First, it's costly to build the token economy today. Okay, you need to spend at least $50,000. Then, there is no easy-to-use tools. And finally, keep in mind that risk management is the only way to validate economic and financial viability of a protocol. So now let's jump into the solution. We're building a no-code design and risk management software to, one, help you design your token economy, and second, monitoring during the time. There are plenty of use cases for this type of software. Gaming, DAO, and DeFi are the most common ones. In a nutshell, the software will allow you to run automatic stress tests regarding your economy and make sure you remain in these safety parameters. So how it works? First, you design using equation block, and then you monitor using on-chain dashboards. To achieve our mission, we've assembled a great team of professionals with a lot of experience. As you know, we're backed by Outlier Ventures and the Ledger co-founder teams, so make sure you book a call with me if you want to know more about what we do.
There is a growing pain for all digital advertisers. Your digital campaigns are becoming less and less effective because there are more mediators looking for their cuts and for your data. Fraud is rising while your valuable data is being used by your competitors. No more. Meet Odin, a decentralized infrastructure for digital marketing advertisers that does not require sharing of data and incentivizes all members of the ecosystem to deliver effective, targeted advertising. The digital advertising landscape is about to take new shape. Take control.
Web3 treasurers have a critical job. Their organizations and the ecosystems they serve depend on them to preserve capital, to maintain liquidity, to earn predictable returns on their uninvested cash, and to the greatest extent possible, to operate on-chain. Unfortunately, they have no good options for managing these critical functions today. Crypto and DeFi markets are extremely volatile and offer poor risk-adjusted returns. As a result, Web3 businesses are currently sitting on billions in idle stablecoin capital, which is earning 0%. Open Trade is here to solve this. We provide an enterprise-grade treasury management platform for Web3 institutions. Our platform provides users seamless access to a suite of on-chain financial products that are backed by investment-grade, liquid financial assets. Join our waitlist now to gain early access to our products as they launch in 2023.
Hi everyone, my name is Kelvin, co-founder and CEO of Pons AI. We're an AI generative product marketing SaaS company for e-commerce. To solve merchants' pain points in creating product marketing content, which typically cost hundreds of dollars and weeks to make, our team of AI engineers are building a mid-journey for product marketing to help merchants create brand-compliant marketing content for Web 2 and Web 3 100 times faster and cheaper. Now with our proprietary AI pipelines, merchants can simply choose how they want their product marketing images to look like, and voila, like magic, they are generated in seconds. Merchants can also delight their end customers with personalized NFTs, create a community for them, and offer them exclusive utilities. We are also working on turning e-commerce product images into 3D in-game assets usable in the Open Metaverse. In the next 5 years, we envision 90% of marketing content in the world will be almost fully AI generated. Join us in helping merchants make magic for their marketing campaigns.
Web 2 businesses have mastered the art of developing strong relationships with their customers. They use loyalty programs, rewards, discounts, and referrals to keep them engaged and satisfied. But in Web 3, users are mercenaries, hopping from one app to another. Uncertainty, scams, and short-term relationships between customers and businesses threaten the Web 3 ecosystem. Sparkwave is a Web3 native loyalty platform that will fix this, strengthening the relationship between online shoppers and Web3 apps and unlocking new revenue streams for Web3 brands. Any Web3 app can easily install our white label panel on their website and start rewarding recurring on-chain transactions and users who invite friends through affiliate links. Try Sparkwave today on sparkwave.yz.
Hi, we're SureFX, and our mission is to help businesses protect themselves from exchange rate volatility in emerging markets. In TradFi, this is called currency hedging. However, because it's TradFi, it's slow, it's expensive, and it's not open to everyone. That's where we come in with our currency hedging platform for emerging markets, powered by DeFi. In our platform, we use MPC technology, which means that users can create a fully decentralized account, but still feels like a Web2 account. They can enter the contract details and fund it with crypto or fiat. And they receive the money with no spread. Let's bring the power of DeFi to businesses in emerging markets. Schedule an appointment today.
With TokenOps, we are on a mission to become the end-to-end token lifecycle tool to simplify token distributions for Web3 organizations and investors. Like in Web2, solutions have managed to manage private shares. In Web3, distribution of tokens is still very much of a manual process. So with our software, we can
use MPC technology, which means that users receive the money
With TokenOps, we are on a mission to become the end-to-end token lifecycle tool to simplify token distributions for Web3 organizations and investors. Like in Web2, solutions have managed to manage private shares. In Web3, distribution of tokens is still very much of a manual process. So with our software, we can act as a one-stop shop for all the relevant stakeholders to track, distribute, and generate insights on token cap tables. Our platform is already live, and it allows founders and investors to keep track of their full token cap table, giving aliases to the various wallets, tagging them, and accessing powerful visualization on token allocation over time. And they can understand what happens to the tokens after vesting across various parameters of inflow and outflow of tokens from the wallet. They can access a powerful portfolio visualization tool to track all their portfolio companies. And finally, new vesting contracts can be created on our platform across regular vesting contracts and superfluid streams.
Your data. It's too too much for anyone to handle alone. But your DataHive AI sidekick can help you turn that tangled web into an asset you can use. Whether it's saving you money on groceries and the things you need, helping you buy that brand new dream home for you and your family, or even providing valuable insights to power data-driven use cases for your business. Sidekick builds you a secure digital identity powered by ZK proofs to understand your likes, habits, and goals and help you achieve them. Let your sidekick manage your data chores so you can focus on what matters.
brands struggle to build authentic relationship with their customers. Imagine we run a local business. Available IT tools are often complex and inefficient. We pay middlemen driven by raw incentives, that fail to protect our customers' privacy. You know that community is the main driver of your brand growth, but how you make them feel seen, acknowledged, and in control. vSelf reimagines how we interact with customers. Providing instruments to engage, facilitate, and reward members will change the way how we structure brand communities. It's easy, it's accessible, it brings loyalty and digital marketing to a new level. Increase customer acquisition with NFT-powered referral campaign. Reward the most loyal customers and get to know the people behind the data. Take control over your identity and privacy. Choose your rules. Build trust. Reach out to us to unlock the potential of your audience.
Hey, Timmu.
Hey.
Found your way here. Just doing a quick intro. So we actually spoke beginning of the year, and actually that was referencing an interesting chart I saw on Twitter, which was pretty much showing this kind of exponential growth in terms of developer usage of the platform. And I think at that point it was something like 3K. And it's good to hear that, you know, since then, so that was August, that trend line has continued up. So I think it's something at 7,000 games and apps integrated. It's about 16% month-on-month growth. What that equates to, remembering that, of course, these are all then interoperable avatars, is about 12 million avatars, which is about 86% month-on-month growth. So phenomenal growth, sustained growth, which is, of course, important because we've seen growth in Web3 before. And then it kind of just drops off a cliff. And the fact that you've been doing this almost irrespective to what's going on in the market, right? What's going on in the market has not at all really impacted that growth cycle. It's pure growth. It's not being driven by a token or kind of some level of incentivization. It's pure product. Really want to kind of get into that focus for you. And one of the interesting things I love about talking to you is you're very much a kind of founder's founder. So you raised a good chunk of money, about 72 million, but you've been in the space a very long time, but you've been backed by lots of very successful other founders. So the co-founder of Twitch, co-founder of GitHub, co-founder of King. So clearly they, as experienced founders, see something in you as a founder. And so that's why I really want to kind of try to draw out of you to kind of share with other founders. So let's kind of just go into the story, the journey. I'm assuming most people here have heard of Ready Player Me, but if they haven't, could you just give us a quick founder journey as to how you got to founding Ready Player Me and the problem that you're trying to solve?
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for the intro, and then very happy to be here. So first, I've been around. We've been around for 9 years. I started from building, playing RuneScape. That was my first kind of a venture, selling RuneScape Gold to other kids in school. And then we started the company 9 years ago, and from building hardware-based 3D scanners. It was around the time when Oculus was acquired by Facebook, and we realized that VR, or we thought that VR is going to be a big thing immediately, and we thought that avatars are going to play a huge role in VR. So that's how we started 9 years ago. And then we spent a few years building hardware, then 4 or 5 years custom building avatar tech for big gaming companies like Tencent and Wargaming, and also like Huawei and HTC and so forth. And we built dozens of avatar systems for people from scratch as a service, essentially. And over that 6-year period of building hardware, custom building avatar tech, we really learned what it takes to build a great avatar system for developers. And then we figured out on how to build a kind of a platform around that. And that became ReadyPayMe. And we launched ReadyPayMe now almost 3 years ago. And yeah, I now have 7,000 people that use the platform. And what ReadyPayMe is, like first, what we believe in is that people will spend more and more time in virtual worlds with every year and every decade that goes by. They play games, they spend time, socializing in 3D virtual worlds. They go to VR meetings in the future and so forth. So that is the core trend where we kind of started in the first place. And that's the core trend that we see that continues over time. And there won't be one virtual world. There will be thousands and millions of different virtual worlds people can navigate between. So it makes sense for you as the user of the metaverse to have an avatar that travels with you across many different virtual worlds and is not stuck in one game. That is what ReadyPayMe is for end users. And from a developer's point of view, when you're building a game or a virtual world, you need to build an avatar system that gives your users cool avatars. And building one takes 6 months to a year if you want to do it well. If you want to monetize it, maybe even more. And we take that pain away from developers. We give them an end-to-end avatar solution so they can focus on what they do best, building the game, building the experience, and we handle the avatars. So that's what ReadyPayMe is. And just the last point, why it's important, we think, it's because there are kind of two paths for the future of the metaverse. A closed path, where we'll end up living in one world. I think this is still a possibility. World owned by Meta, for example. Not a very good future, if you ask us. And then there's a more open and decentralized metaverse where, it looks like more like the internet, where you can navigate between different worlds and different places, and nobody owns it. And for the open metaverse to have a chance, there need to be services and protocols and standards that kind of link different virtual worlds together, that make it easy for people to navigate between worlds. And avatars are a hugely important part of that. And that's really like the biggest kind of impact we're trying to create by building interoperable avatars, like nudging the world towards a more open metaverse.
Yeah, and I definitely want to talk about how you see the direct avatar economy evolve and influence of generative AI and stuff like that a little bit later. But I kind of just want to focus on that founder journey. So, you've successfully transitioned a company from being an early stage founder, almost first time founder, to now this kind of high growth company where you're CEO. And, you kind of alluded to earlier the origins where you were effectively really a consultancy, right? You were kind of custom building avatars for individual brands or whatever it may be. And then you managed to shift effectively into a technology company. And this is one of the hardest things to do. So I remember when we first spoke, which would have been, I'm guessing like 2018 at some point. There were lots of people doing what you were doing then, lots of people building custom avatars. And I think at that point, even though you personally are kind of a crypto native, I don't think you would have described ReadyPayMe as a Web3 company. So the first thing was, I guess, when you decided to kind of transition into being a Web3 company or perceived as a Web3 company, maybe an Open Metaverse company now. The second thing was the point at which you felt you could transition from doing this custom work into then scaling a technology solution. And the reason why this is important is that it's notoriously difficult to fund these kind of boutique companies because would say they don't scale, right? They'll say,
Yeah.
look, that's great. You might be making brilliant revenue, but like if I were to give you 78 million or 72 million or whatever it is, how does that then turn this into the high growth company that you built? So could you just through that transition, both in becoming a Web3 company and to what extent you became a Web3 company? And then the second thing is this switch in business model.
Yeah, for sure. So I would actually start from the business model, because that's kind of like led us to become or more like a Web3 company.
Right.
So like, we were always kind of a hybrid between tech. Like we had, most of the data scientists that would build tech to take a selfie and convert it to different styles of avatars, and then we would sell that SDK. But then developers would always need us to integrate it for them and like build the avatar system around it. So it was always like kind of hybrid. So we were always trying to figure out a way to like make the product more like end to end. But there was just like no way, because every avatar system needs to have their own style and their own specs, and like there's like it's super hard. And then eventually we came up with this idea on like building it on the web, like having it very easy to integrate because it's built on the web, so you don't have to have deep integrations with SDKs and all this stuff. So we abstracted away a lot of the complexity, and then we could build a product that we felt that can have a different business model. And then that, and then we was like, okay, like that's a product that anyone can integrate. If people integrate that, it's actually easy for us to create interoperable experiences because everybody essentially uses our avatar system. And then like the goal is to be the universal avatar. So the business model for that is to give it away for free and make money from, the transactions and so forth. So that's where we pivoted from like service licensing kind of business model to like new product, and then free with a revenue share, basically. Yeah, so that's that part. And then the Web3 part is like, like the promise of interoperability is almost built into NFTs. It's like you own it, you can do whatever you want with it, or at least like interoperability really unlocks like value for NFTs, like much more. Like the more utility you have for NFT, the more places you can use it, the more valuable it becomes. So it's a very kind of a natural place where like the crypto space would clearly understand the value we provide more than any other like traditional gaming space. And then we felt that this is like a perfect match for us, also like in building our future economy and so forth. And our approach has been like to not be only crypto, because that pushes away a lot of kind of traditional developers that are like allergic to NFTs and so forth, which is still the case sometimes. So it's an option. You can sell NFTs as a ReadyPayMe partner. We partner up with NFT collections. We've done like a small drop for CryptoPunks ourselves. So like we've been kind of like doing stuff to understand how it works and how we can use it. But we haven't been like 100%. We have a token, like we're a pure kind of Web3 company. And that served us well because like we are a mainstream platform. Like we win if all the games are cool, are on ReadyPayMe. Then all the players are on ReadyPayMe, and like they kind of and kind of like they really reinforce each other. So we don't want to be cut out from a big market because we don't need to. Like we're kind of like connecting different places. Yeah. So I guess
what's interesting there is that the kind of that interoperability meant that for every new developer that joined, they get the network effect of, and then effectively that allows them to deliver utility if they're an NFT franchise, but it allows them effectively to use you as a distribution channel. Interoperability allows you to become a distribution channel, which just reinforces the value proposition, right?
That's right. So like instead of selling NFTs, for example, in your game that only stay in your game, you can now sell NFTs that actually work across thousands of games in our network. So like that's kind of like what we provide for any game developer on top of the avatars. Like you can now be a part of the open economy that exists around the avatars. Yeah. And the bigger the network is, the more valuable it is to be a part of the network.
Yeah, and then to what extent? So that's kind of how you've tapped into this growth. But then if we kind of look forward, you were kind of alluding a little bit to this idea of the direct to avatar economy. So at the moment, you've kind of allowed for avatar interoperability, and you're kind of growing that network by, both sides of the marketplace, right? Integrating it into more games and allowing effectively more avatar creators to kind of create this marketplace. But where do you go next? So, do you look to begin to create your own avatars yourself? Are you looking to extend beyond avatars to skins? Are you looking to become perhaps vertically integrated across, the direct avatar stack? What's the kind of current thinking?
Yeah. So yeah, the avatars and skins and avatars and assets are kind of like the same thing almost, or like they're like, they work together. So yeah, so on one end, we basically were building monetization and content tools for anyone to create avatar assets, skins, and outfits and complete avatars that they can sell themselves. And it's the games that we work with. They want to sell stuff to their users that become interoperable across the network. There's brands that we work with. We work with a lot of brands that want to create assets and sell them on their websites and make them usable in games. And there's individual creators that are just individual artists, or UGC will be a part of it as well. So it's enabling content creation, and then with content creation, enabling monetization. So people can sell those assets and generate revenue. The revenue is distributed between games based on where the assets are used. So building out the open economy. And like the moment that we really want to get to is where we can prove to a game developer that they can generate a lot more revenue by selling stuff that is interoperable compared to only in their game. And when we have enough data on that, then it's kind of like, then we can start bringing in more traditional studios that don't care about interoperability as a concept, or don't care about the open metaverse. Philosophically, they're not aligned with that, but they just joined because it's like a no-brainer business decision. So and I think that's an important place to get to as an industry, because that helps us onboard people that were not going to be a part of it. Philosophically, they just joined because it's a business decision that makes sense. And then we can onboard a lot more traditional studios, and open up more worlds.
Yeah, and then presumably brand IP that people are already familiar with will then bring new users into the system effectively, that will then simultaneously just experience the benefits of interoperability rather than being told that somehow philosophically better for them. So aside from that, there's other things coming at you, right? Thick and fast. This is the beauty of Web3, and a big theme for Elevate over the next couple of days is really around convergence of Web3 blockchain technologies, tokenization with AI, and in particular generative AI. How do you see, firstly, specifically, how do you look at generative AI in the context of Ready Player Me? But then more generally, how do you as a founder stay open to kind of these new innovations or new hype cycles that come at you, whilst also staying focused on effectively scaling a company that has product market fit?
Yeah, that's the thing I'm thinking about every day. So first, AI. So basically, how we see AI, we think like it's going to change the way games are built. It's going to drastically lower the cost of creating content, creating 3D assets, creating game art, game codes, and all that stuff. So over time, what it means is that smaller teams can build bigger experiences that are more like AAA-like, which is cool. I think it will bring a lot of experimentation with different types of game modes and stories and ways of building games that are not possible today. It's very expensive to make mistakes, so people are very very kind of like rigid in the way games are built today, because it's very expensive and like you can't make too many mistakes. So anyways, I think it will bring a lot of experimentation. More teams will build bigger games, which is awesome. We'll have cooler virtual experiences, more virtual experiences, which all like, you know, lifts the whole market. And then, you know, we think it's going to be very important for ReadyFM as well. Avatar content creation, avatar stylization, creating your own personal avatars. There's a lot of problems that we were going to solve or need to solve anyways that now have an AI solution or will have an AI solution. So we invest properly into AI, and we have a bunch of stuff we're working on internally. Some of it we've already shared as well. Like we launched a project where you can create avatar skins based on prompts, or like you have a t-shirt and you're like hot dog pattern, you get a hot dog pattern t-shirt. So like we're already kind of like experimenting with some of the stuff that's out there. And then we are, you know, a lot of R&D. So, and how do you stay open? You know, I think it's hard, especially like when you're kind of like, you feel like an expert in the field, like avatars in our case, like we know how avatars systems are built, right? We know how, like, we've been doing this for 9 years. And then like this new thing coming around that like probably disrupts like the way avatars are created and games are built and everything. So it's like your first reaction is to like reject, basically. It's like, oh shit. Like you basically you're like the incumbent a little bit.
Yeah.
So you just need to fight against that, and you know, try to be practical with like, okay, is this actually going to disrupt the business? Are we gonna like, can we benefit from it? Like, can we like, you know, use it to our advantage over like getting protecting ourselves from getting disrupted by it? So it's kind of like the approach. And sometimes it is like a hype cycle, and even then, like maybe it makes sense to do something to like position ourselves to the, you know, to the hype to benefit from it. But the main thing is like you need to create like long-term value with your product and stuff. But yeah, like I think understanding what's going on in the kind of hottest fields is important. And with AI, I think it's actually long-term very important for us to be involved. So we are.
Yeah, I mean, I think that kind of framing that you become an incumbent much more quickly, right? So on the one hand, you've hockey stick growth, but all of a sudden, the way that I kind of see the difference between being, you know, the challenger and the incumbent is effectively the rate of decision making has to increase, right? So if you're an incumbent, you have the luxury of waiting and see to a degree. But again, you need to kind of time that right. And so, you know, to what extent do you feel you kind of have the luxury of kind of just stay, you've got product market fit, right? You've got clearly the market's telling you that they want more of what you've got. Yes, you can roll out incremental product features. You know, do you really need to be first mover in integrating generative AI? You know, is that more disruptive to that growth cycle than kind of just waiting and see how it pans out? Or is generative AI, you know, so emergent and important that actually you don't have that luxury? You have to react.
Yeah, I mean, I think you definitely need to be close enough to understand like what can be done, like actually. And then when you feel that something can be done that actually replaces your existing business, then you should be the first one to do it, you know, not wait for anyone else to do it first. But I think so. It's like you need to put enough time and effort and talent and like mind space into it to like understand. But then, yeah, we definitely don't feel like. Yeah, I think it's actually it's just the right way to think about it. If you're incumbent, you have a little bit more time to think, but then most people think too long, and then they're like the wave is gone, and then they get disrupted by it. So I don't know. The balance is somewhere in between. We feel like a very small, nimble startup still, but it's just like the waves are so much faster, you know, and like technology, everything is changing so much faster, so it can get disrupted much faster. So anyways, I think our approach is to be close and understand this thing deeply and have people working on it, put enough time out into it ourselves, so we figure out like the moment to, if at all, to fully commit.
Yeah, and then you kind of mentioned a little bit earlier, like beyond the kind of product, the end product. So for example, allowing an end user, this kind of long tail of user, to create UGC through generative AI, you're also looking at leveraging AI internally for how you might, I don't know, develop code or this is a really interesting theme for us as well. We're kind of thinking as the 100x founder, so especially for an early stage founder where you don't have resource, you don't have capital, and you don't have time. So actually, you know, figuring out how you can personally leverage these technologies is incredibly important. Can you maybe just hit at some of the ways that you're internally leveraging all these different AI tools to just help you go faster?
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, so we've trained some, you know, we've trained a concept art generator. So we used a bunch of our own avatars to train it. And then it's basically our avatars and pictures of fashion shows, for example. And then you write prompts, and then you get some like very cool concepts, like 2D concepts for 3D avatars. And then this goes to 3D artists. Normally there's a concept artist that creates it from scratch, and it takes a few days to create one concept. Now I can just like use prompts and create things that like fit to our avatars in the 2D space. So you can kind of concept faster and then come to a kind of some cool outfit, and then it will still be manually created by a 3D artist because the 3D part is not there yet. That's one example. Like we use Copilot, we use like all of our developers use like AI in their like everyday work. You know, there's some stuff I can't talk about, but yeah, like we're gonna have some AI elements in accelerating some like content creation tool parts. You know, we use AI to create the avatar from a selfie, and that's something like, you know, we started building when deep learning first came around, so that was like 6 years ago or something. So we've been kind of around this space for a long time, but now it's just like a lot of things are getting to like close to market ready. Yeah. Anyways, those are the few things that we're like using actively every day.
Very cool. Well, look, I think we're up on time. I know that founders listening to this would have really appreciated your candidness. Every time I speak to you, you're very open. If I ask you a question, you normally always get an answer rather than a kind of politics answer. So I know founders will really appreciate that as they're trying to keep pace with everything that's going on. And look, I think that you're one of those projects where there is this kind of sustained growth that you can see continuing, and that's only good for the space. And I think, you know, your go-to-market and approach, kind of pragmatic approach to things like decentralization, again, are really powerful blueprint. So, you know, thank you on behalf of the community for sharing.
Thank you.
How you work and how you think, but then also I think creating a blueprint that can be replicated for other businesses trying to come into the Web3 space. So thanks, Timmu, for your time.
Yes, thank you, Jamie. That was great. And yeah, we'll see you around, and good luck to all the founders. It's a good time to build.
Thanks, Timmu.
Look, I'm always very excited to talk about and to showcase what our award-winning accelerator program produces. And I'm also always very excited to talk about our partners. And in this cohort, we have two partners, so Protocol Labs as well as Polygon. And I'm really happy to have Ruben here with us. Ruben is the head of Builders and at Protocol Labs, and also a partner on the Builders Fund. So he's also going to talk to us a little bit about what it's been like and the thesis for the program. So first, I'd like to start. Laura and Ricardo, you are both program managers. And I'd love to start with a question for both of you. We're about to showcase your companies. Can you explain the thesis of your cohort? So Laura, can we start with you? Explain the thesis of the cohort that you ran.
Of course. First of all, I have to say I'm really excited to present this cohort. In terms of our thesis, for the third iteration of the Polygon program, we were looking for startups that will facilitate the onboarding of the next billion users into the Web3 ecosystem by creating accessible but also user-friendly products and applications in verticals where they could leverage existing networks, such as gaming and fan and community engagement. We were also looking, as part of our thesis, at startups that could facilitate the onboarding of traditional players into Web3 ecosystem, creating bridges between Web2 and Web3, and ultimately driving the adoption of Web3 forward.
Thank you, Laura. Okay, and Ricardo and Ruben, together I'm going to ask you, so maybe you can take different angles on this. Ricardo, if you could start, what was the thesis of this cohort that you just ran?
So just like Polygon, this is not the first cohort. This is our third cohort with Protocol Labs for this Filecoin Basecamp. And when we put this together with our partner, with Protocol Labs, the macro thesis was really about investing in infrastructure player for the decentralized web. And we reiterate on this investment thesis quarter by quarter. And this cohort actually allowed us to onboard the best teams on 4 main pillars. So we have hosting and streaming, dev tooling, which is like this macro category of SDKs, and middleware that superpower developers in their apps, and DAO tooling. So we're not only looking at application, but also organization, how they're gonna get together, do more together in the future, and the key trend of decentralized identity. So not just owning your content, but also how do you bring your identity, reputation across platforms. And yeah, happy to leave the stage to Ruben too.
Yeah, first of all, thank you for summarizing. Yeah, from Protocol Labs, super excited to go into this multi-year partnership with you. We have been, partnering for a while now. We have incubated and accelerated amazing companies. And there's a classic synergy between what OV is trying to build and what PL is pursuing. You are pursuing this open metaverse thesis, and we are very excited about this open data economy. And hence it kind of naturally came together, and we keep coming back. There's another cohort that we're kicking off in just a few weeks. Quick shout out to Ruth and team. So yeah, super excited for the teams that we have accelerated together. And yeah, handing it back to Natalie.
Great, thank you so much. Yes, really exciting. Now I'm going to ask you both, Laura and Ricardo, just a little bit about, over the course of the 12 weeks that you've been running these programs, obviously there's a lot that goes on, a lot that goes in, lots of transformation of the companies that get accelerated, of course. But I would love to know, when you're ending the cohort, what is it you heard most from the founders who are part of it? What's that value add? What's that secret sauce that they say help them, hopefully help them? Laura?
Yeah, happy to start. I would mention 3 things that constantly come back and in the way of the feedback and where the startups see where we add value. The first one is that we are a Web3 native accelerator. So they definitely appreciate our expertise in areas like token design and NFT strategy. Second is the tailored approach we have to our programs. So they definitely value this customized approach that we have and how we consider the different stages and needs where they are as a business. And finally, we have to mention the access that we provide to our extensive network, whether it's mentors, ecosystem partners, or our alumni network that is ever growing. And we're now over 220 portfolio companies.
Yeah, on our side, I would say it should be noted that the Web3 ecosystem is really inclusive and collaborative, especially founders to founders. Everyone is really eager to support each other. But sometimes it's the flip coin of the ecosystem is that is also very dynamic. And sometimes with all these requests, the intro can be lagging, and by the time they come, they might not be relevant anymore. So for a startup to join an accelerator, it means that founders that are used to work in a team of 4 or 5 people, seed stage, they instantly be plugged into this network of staff, mentors, experts, and they really work as an extension of their founding team. And basically, this ensures that they receive the support when it's relevant. Timing is everything, especially at the seed stage, to tackle the blockers that a startup may have. And we've been there with the portfolio 200 times up and down the mountain, and really the founders, they perceive this value. What do you think, Ruben?
Yeah, exactly. I was about to add to that. I think as someone who, yes, works on the investment side, but you know, also looks at hackathon teams a lot and grant teams a lot, really early, you know, builders that are just dabbling in the technology. I think you have a secret sauce around making developers and people that are just playing around into entrepreneurs, right? You ask the hard questions, you know, show them what it takes to succeed in market, and that is truly something unique, right? So yeah, again, thank you from the Protocol Lab side. Like, you guys have been doing a great job.
Fantastic. Well, I am also going to add my little one, which, you know, I've seen quite a few of, and we don't always hear about it, but a lot of times we do have builders who are interested in Web3, but may not feel like they have that deep expertise. And it's a little bit along the lines of what you were saying, Ricardo. You know, you have this instant team. So, you know, how should I build? What should I do? What are the decisions I need to make? We would have that technical expertise. We've seen it across 200 companies. Or how do I build out my token? And, you know, what's the best way? What's the best utility? Again, we have that expertise. Anything, everywhere from NFTs to DAOs. We have somebody there that you can tap into and give you some bespoke recommendations. So that's really great. We have a little bit more time, so I'm just going to ask you also an extra bonus question. So I'm putting you guys on the spot. Lara, I'd love to hear from you. What was that aha, like that moment that you were like, this is why I do this job. This is this is fun. What was that moment for you? And Rick, you're going to have a few seconds to think about it, but I'm really putting Laura on the spot here.
I have this moment every week, to be honest, because I meet with the teams every week, and I do enjoy every minute of seeing the progress week on week on what they do. I think startup life can be very chaotic, and lots of things can go on with little recognition when you're like trying to push the business forward. But I get to see the big picture for all of my teams and seeing the progress. And I just feel incredibly proud to have the opportunity to be part of their journey for 3 months and hopefully for life, because we become friends, you know, after 3 months of having a very intense program.
Yeah. And Rick,
for me,
what about yours?
I love when my founders sometimes there's something to do. They have to provide a deliverable, and I tell them, look, the deadline for this is next week, and I get it in the next couple of hours. I'm like, you know, you have more time for this, and I just couldn't stop working on this. I'm like, okay. Then you know, I always see this direct relationship between the passion and the success and the traction that they get. And it's not really something that we say just for saying it, but especially at the seed stage, is that passion that you see founders executing the most at the sparkle, and it's something that really motivates you in the work that we do.
Oh, fantastic. I've heard from a lot of the founders as well. It's also emotional support, you know, on those bad days, somebody says, I believe in you. You know, I think that's also, we can't underestimate how hard it is to be a founder in the beginning days. Ruben, have you got any, you know, from all the accelerators you've been seeing, have you got any aha moments that you have when you're watching these programs go through?
Absolutely. So I think it is important to always make it about the people and about the founders. I think it's easy to, especially if you run, you know, larger programs. You guys are a huge program. If you run larger programs, you can get a programmatic view, you know, on the funnel and, you know, on you know, the growing portfolio. And sometimes you can lose sight of the individual people that, you know, comprise the teams, the people that they have real emotions and real fears, or uncertainties. And it's always important to remind yourself, hey, right now, you know, I'm speaking with a person, they have their own unique circumstances, and I'm here to listen, to help support, and to push them forward. And I think that is a real recipe for success, because people will remember how you made them feel. And even if you don't have the, you know, even if you don't have the exact answer for that founder in that particular moment, you know, that support that you just mentioned, Natalie, is absolutely crucial, especially in a winter, as we're facing right now.
Winter's the time to build, and we're going to see some fantastic videos in a few seconds from all the building that we've done. So I'm really excited to be able to share that with you. I just would leave with a couple of points. It's not just us on, you know, in this pre-call. There's an entire team at Outlier. We're about 100 people, all dedicated to the founders that are here. And, you know, we really support what they're building and doing, and our partners as well. And, you know, it's just been really exciting to be able to do that. So really proud of what we've been able to accomplish in what we're saying is this crypto winter. So it's fantastic for us.
Hundreds of millions of people around the world using some of the most popular social media sites, Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp, have been forced offline in a major global blackout.
We're not your average gaming platform. We're a tight community that brings together over 15,000 traditional gamers, devs, and content creators through Web3 enhanced competitive gaming. The Insert Stonks platform consists of well-known brands, popular games, and unmatched user experience that stimulates our community engagement to new levels. It only takes a few seconds to register, and immediately you receive access to the entire potential of Insert Stonks. Take part in competitions and be rewarded for doing what you love most, playing games. The backbone of Insert Stonks allows for creation of unlimited engagement models through tournaments, prize pools, player versus player matchmaking, and reward distribution mechanisms. Chosen by more than 30 publishers, our technology operates as a layer on top of any existing video game and can be implemented within just a few hours. Are you ready to invest in the future of gaming?
This shows the current state of NFTs. Newly minted NFTs are only static art. Lineage protocol lets your NFTs do more than just be art pieces. It allows static NFTs to change based on specific conditions or events, making them dynamic NFTs. Lineage Explorer tracks these changes in metadata from the beginning and records each change in a decentralized ledger. As Pikachu evolves, the changes in attributes and image are recorded in the Explorer. Our main feature is Lineage Myriad, which lets a single NFT have multiple profiles, allowing it to exist in different worlds. By creating a new dataset for an NFT, it can have a second set of attributes. This can be done many times, allowing for endless possibilities. With the power of Lineage Myriad, your NFT can now be used in a 2D game, a 3D metaverse, and even partnering with popular brands all at the same time without affecting your original metadata.
Said the best way to prepare for the future is to study the past. The Dutch, British, Chinese, and Americans all have shown they'll print more money in times of economic crisis than they've earned. By devaluing their currencies, hardworking, everyday people become the ones to pay for their government shortcomings. That was until 2009, when Bitcoin was introduced and promised the highest level of financial freedom since currency was invented by mankind. However, it's been 14 years since that happened. Why are there more bankrupt consumer exchanges than nation states? The answer is straightforward. No one can figure out how to use a wallet, and Web3 online experiences sorely miss come to no features. That's the gap which Sonar bridges. We aren't trying to onboard the next billion users into crypto, we're building the global standard for digital identity. After learning from MetaMask and server-based MPC platforms, Sonar introduces the first peer-to-peer identity verification system, or in other words, the driver's license for the internet.
On-chain communities manage $25 billion worth of assets, but managing large funds and recurring tasks manually is slow and causes constant transaction anxiety. Not anymore. Introducing StationX, a protocol for DAOs and digital communities that keeps capital and automation at the center. Create DAOs for any popular use case in less than 60 seconds with zero code. All trustless, permissionless, and decentralized. With StationX, you can use templates to set up, gate community with flexible token options, and invite them by sharing a link. Get rid of transaction anxiety by automating any workflow with a range of executable proposals, like deduct carry fee and distribute profits. Packed into a rich new design, so you can create, own, and manage digital assets together. With StationX, you can do more together.
dApps are required to grow and have to constantly improve their platform. However, the necessity to solve failures often shifts their focus, limiting the ability to produce higher value-added work. Developers spend excessive time trying to identify and solve problems and assist customer support efforts. This affects users' ability to have a seamless interaction, impacting revenues, engagement, and user retention. You can integrate our SDK in minutes. It is compatible with the most popular Web3 libraries and all EVM-based blockchains. We offer a friendly interface usable across dApps' different departments to discover problems' root causes and speed up troubleshooting. Set up monitors and alerts to automate supervision so you can enhance your team's productivity. Use visualizations to get insights and reveal improvement opportunities to create better user experiences. Monitor, analyze, and visualize user data to grow your dApp with Summer.
We're all part of multiple communities. From work to gaming to travel, communities are where you get work done. And we all rely on various productivity apps. While these apps allow us to collaborate, they weren't designed for today's communities. Making sure your team has access to the right tools often takes hours. Meet Supercluster Airlock, an interoperable access management platform designed for your community. Keep using all your favorite tools. Airlock helps you automate access to them. Gate access based on your team's engagement. When new members join, they'll see all of your tools in one place. With Airlock, you can stop managing your tools and get back to doing what you love. Supercluster Airlock, access management built for communities.
Why is hiring and finding work so difficult these days? Today, most hiring happens on platforms, and this is great, but these platforms operate as silos, and what this does is it fragments the market for hiring. Because of liquidity issues, users can't find what they need by just using one platform. This forces them to make many accounts across different platforms, and when this happens, they're fragmenting their reputation. What if it didn't have to be this way? Imagine a world where platforms pooled users. People grew one reputation on all platforms, and hiring the right people was easier. This is possible today with TalentLayer. Discover a network of work platforms united by a shared protocol. TalentLayer is live with revenue today. We have one platform that's live on our infrastructure and 9 that are building. Learn more about us at talentlayer.org.
The Eden, the decentralized live streaming service platform. Using IPFS technology, the Eden provides privacy-focused features, token incentives, and community ownership for Web3 users. Our superior UX makes the platform Web3 friendly, is fully decentralized, which means users own their data. Content isn't heavily censored. Join us, start your own streaming. And more. NFT Avatar. Easy to use live streaming tools. Join us. Follow us on social media.
Welcome to the gaming industry, a world worth $300 billion and growing. Players are buying everything from in-game items to virtual currencies and cosmetic skins. But did you know that game studios are still paying 30% commission to App Store or Stream, their main distribution channels? That's where Fungies comes in. We offer a solution for game developers by enabling them to build their own distribution channel. With our advanced website builder and in-game shop, developers can now self-publish their games and offer players a seamless shopping experience. No more predatory fees from middlemen. No more burden of creating your own marketplace. With Fungies, everything is easily managed through a powerful developer dashboard that is both Web 2 and Web 3 compatible. So, if you're a game developer, it's time to take control of your distribution channels. Become the master of your own distribution and start your game store or marketplace with Fungies now. Try it for free and join the journey towards a more profitable and sustainable gaming business.
The transition from 2D to 3D content and from Web 2 to Web 3 helps us become active players, not just passive consumers. To achieve this transition, we cannot rely on the same tech and design philosophy, otherwise we deliver ineffective experiences. Our platform is critical to the next generation of makers creating experiences, tracking engagement, and building loyalty in 3D. Take a look at our unique features we offer our makers.
It's time to act up. Let me go get my stacks up. Money so long, gonna take it, place it, flip it and put it in a Mack truck. Gonna go dumb, gonna take it, make me crazy, then we gon' get crunk. And one's gonna take me, maybe switching up style is a slam dunk. Let's keep it 100, we ain't playing no games, let's mocking things. We from the fuck gonna get a bit nasty, we gon' get a bit strange. Friends for the benefit of getting dirty, there ain't no strings. Twerk it back on the pole, she a dancer, got me throwing change. We getting wavy, baby.
Have you ever bought a t-shirt or vinyl from your favorite artist after a show? Did you know that merchandising is the second most important revenue stream for artists? Goodzu aims to bring the reality of merchandise to the Web3 space and reinforce digital communities in the future metaverse. We have created a new product called Digital Merchandising that uses blockchain and NFTs, allowing artists to approach their communities in different ways and generate new income streams. Goodzu is a scalable solution to sell NFTs with a B2B2C business model by integrating our API with digital music distribution companies. Goodzu makes it easy for the mainstream market as we have connection with both Web3 tools and fiat payments. Join Goodzu now and welcome to the new era of digital merchandising.
If you had all the power in the world, what would you use it for? In the Nanoverse, characters and their powers are yours to own. Join the revolution, where ownership meets adventure.
Emerging markets around the world are hotbeds for crypto adoption.
home to over 4 billion people and 350 million crypto users. They are users of DeFi protocols, Web3 games, and avid collectors of NFTs. But there's one thing all these users have in common. It's impossible to on-ramp into their self-custody wallet today. Hit by KYC rejection, low local payment network support, high fees, and restrictive minimum purchase amounts, these valuable users are locked out from self-custody wallets. 95% of these users are failing to on-ramp today. That's why we built OpenPeer, a completely self-custodial peer-to-peer on-ramp. Zero fees, any payment method, any currency, and any token, directly to your wallet. Crypto needs a decentralized on-ramp, and we've built it.
At Payfoot, we know the challenges of engaging the younger generation with football. With mobile gaming and esports on the rise, getting the Gen Z to experience the excitement of the game can be tough. With 3 billion gamers worldwide and a $200 billion industry, gaming is now the biggest entertainment market. That's why we've created Payfoot, a solution to bring gamification to football. Our metaverse is unique and immersive. It combines games, Web3, NFTs, and social network to create an unparalleled football experience. With Payfoot Metaverse, young fans can become super fans, immersed in a world of football that is more exciting and engaging than ever before. Join the future of fanhood and experience your club on a daily basis through gamification. Take the next step with us. Payfoot, the metaverse of football.
Beyond is a platform that makes it really easy for fans to get recognized and rewarded, and for brands to supercharge their user-generated content challenges. 1.5 billion people around the world consider themselves to be content creators. And you could spend a fortune on some big influencer campaign, or ask your marketing department to dream up some flashy set of ads. Or you could empower your biggest fans who are already engaging with you and creating content at a much lower cost. Now, I know what you're thinking. How do we reach those users? Do you know how long it takes to find all this content? Yeah, we do. We've been through it all. We've literally been there, and we know that UGC is no easy task. With a few clicks, your UGC challenge will be deployed to all platforms and will automatically collect any content related to that challenge. When the challenge ends, choose your favorite pieces of content, and Beyond will contact these users in order to reward them. This provides creators with an income and an incentive to keep creating that quality content. And it allows these fans to connect with your brand on a whole new level.
Dreamer. The future of commerce belongs to those who dare to break boundaries, adapt or get left behind. Join us on this journey and revolutionize your business. Challenges like high-risk Web3 development, disconnected information systems, and unfit NFT standards for commerce hinder success. Redreamer has the solution. Our protocol plugin bridges Web3 and Web2, streamlining adoption to give businesses an edge. Our commerce-centric multi-redeemable NFT standard unlocks boundless opportunities for brands to expand market reach and community growth. Integrating MRNFTs enables brands to sell across various platforms such as games and metaverses. Tap into limitless platforms, immersive experiences, and revenue generation with Redreamer. Join the movement and revolutionize commerce with Redreamer. Contact us today to get started. Redreamer.
What is a community?
a group of people tied together by a common bond. It started with tribes, villages, then cities. At each step, we developed new, better ways to communicate. The letter, the phone, the internet. We are witnessing the next evolution. Communities born from culture and commerce, where each community is its own world, constructed by the collective efforts of each individual. Each evolution requires a revolution, a technological shift that reflects the era which ushered it, built by those that saw the way things are, will not be the way things will be in the future. We got to work on building a better way, faster, stronger, safer. 15 clicks became 1 click. 5 different apps, try one. Hacks, good luck. Today is a platform that will power the future of Web3, the future of culture and commerce, the future of community.
Once upon a time, brands and customers had a personal relationship with each other. Then, darkness descended as gigantic platforms took over Web2 land and stole customers away from brands. As a result, these platforms owned the customer relationship and their data, making them trillionaire rulers. One day, a new world called Web3 was discovered. This offered brands the promise of creating their own kingdoms, but they didn't know how to get there. Trident 3 emerged with its proprietary features, empowering brands to easily access Web3 land. Now brands can create their own kingdom and own everything in their realm, including data, community, and direct relationships with their customers. Until finally, brands and their loyal customers lived in harmony once again.
My name is Martin. I'm Content Strategy Manager here at Outlier Ventures. And the broader scope of my role here is to plan and amplify the voice of Outlier across all of our channels. In essence, I would say that my job is to answer the question of how can Outlier, as the most active Web3 accelerator, and the most active Web3 investor, inform, inspire, and empower the Web3 community and the Web3 curious. And I think that that's really getting at the crux of why we're here today at Elevate. Well, through the panels that we've already seen, the cohort teasers, we are trying to give a window into Outlier Ventures' vision for the wider Web3 space. You know, whether, again, through those conversations we're elevating, the teams, we're working to open source and share our worldview on Web3 in 23. You've already heard from Jamie and Timmu Toke on building Web3 products that users love. You've seen the key themes and teams across our 4 cohorts. And this panel is meant to tie it all together. We're trying to ask how the technology is developing through Web3 and AI that you've already seen will affect the creator landscape of the future. So without further ado, let me hand it over to our panelists. I'll give you a quick talk of who you're going to hear from today. Giovanni Petrantoni, CEO and founder of Nova. Dr. Christina Yan Zhang, CEO of the Metaverse Institute, and Jessica Berger, Vice President of Innovation at Publicis Media. So perhaps, Giovanni, if you want to give a quick introduction, and then we can go around and circle from Giovanni to Christina to Jessica, and we can all kind of give a quick intro on ourselves and our vision.
Sure. Thank you. Yeah, I'm Giovanni, CEO of Fracolo and Fragnova. Basically, my background is engineering. I've been writing software for my whole life, basically. Relevant experience is the fact that 20 years ago, I was building lots of content in Second Life, I would say. And that kind of drove my will to learn how game engine worked. And I ended up in Japan, building game engines for most major companies in there. I was part of Circo Studio, which is owned by Sony, Square Enix, and they built middleware. This drove me a lot into experimentation, where I ended up joining the Ethereum 2 team to build one of the Beacon Nodes clients. I think it's called like that now. And fast forward, I met Jamie. I'm very grateful to Outlier. And I basically jumped to being a founder of this actually endeavor, which that's why I mentioned Second Life, because I started everything 20 years ago, and fast forward, propelled to Fracolo and building Fragnova, which is we call it Creator Operative System. So basically we're building the foundation and the engine for new media, new games, and how new generations will produce content in the future.
Lovely. Thank you for that, Giovanni. And Christina?
Sure.
Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Christina Yan Zhang, CEO of the Metaverse Institute. So I also started a little bit early in 2006, and I was doing my master dissertation using Second Life, the world's first metaverse platform, to develop international strategies for universities worldwide. And I'm very lucky to got a full scholarship to continue my research using digital twin in the metaverse environment to augment the AEC industry. So I completed in 2012, and then spent my professional career helping governments, universities, and business worldwide to develop innovation policies. So I was sitting on many different intergovernmental committees with UNESCO, World Bank, Commonwealth, on how we can really design the future of the economy. And I recently been appointed as the vice chairman for the United Nations International Telecommunication Union's working group on Metaverse, with a special focus on sustainability, inclusion, and accessibility. So very looking forward to working with all of you. Thank you.
All right, I'm going to wrap it up. I'm Jessica Berger, VP of Innovation at Publicis Media. Publicis Media is a global media agency. So we basically work with lots of brands, consumer brands, B2B brands, on bringing new marketing activations to life, right? And my division primarily focuses on those new technologies, the new up-and-coming technologies that are not quite mainstream yet. So we focus a lot on gaming, on the Web3 and the Metaverse technology, so AR, VR, and AI, and lots of other just new interesting ways of bringing interesting concepts to life. I Second Life, but I do share, I believe, a passion for just virtual spaces and immersive thinking, right? The concept of just coming together in 3D spaces. So that's what led me to my position, and I'm hoping actually I'm going to learn a lot from the other panelists here, because that sounds really interesting.
Great, lovely. Thanks, Jessica. So why don't we get into the questions? Perhaps starting from kind of a one that really introduces the concept of AI and the implications for creators. So we're seeing AI and Web3 change the way that we consume and produce media in general. But just in a simple way, let's get into the opportunities and challenges that they present for creators and consumers of content. Maybe a good place to start is with Giovanni. You are building the, quote, infrastructure for creators. Can you tell us a little bit about the opportunities and challenges that generative AI can pose and bring for creators, and how you're helping to create that infrastructure?
Yeah, I mean, with what we're building for Nova, we started before this boom of generative AI came out. So, but the funny part is that it was just perfect timing. So I believe that the whole thing starts with, we'll see lots of content curation. I'm a firm believer of user-generated content, for example, and a Gen AI and so on basically will drive user-generated content, will drive the next bull run. And so I believe that the opportunities are pretty much huge. But you also mentioned, if I'm not mistaken, Web3. So it's something that we cannot really, it's still very relevant. And I think that in that case, probably decentralization and ownership is still very relevant. And if you think about it, with AI, this was a huge topic. Basically, the biggest threat, was this all of what was it, IP, privacy, and so on and so on. So I'm a strong believer that Web3 can definitely solve this kind of things. And this is what basically with Fragment everything made sense. So IP and copyright and so on. So.
Right. And Jessica, a big part of your job working with large brands is innovating and spotting trends. What are you kind of seeing develop in the creative landscape?
Yeah, there's a lot of trends, and some will hopefully come true, others may not so much. But I think for me, there was a two paths that I'm looking at. One is the creator lens, so the everyday person, every one of us, and everyone who's professionally involved in creating content, or just wants to be able to do that in whatever format. I think there's lots of interesting ways where we're seeing, obviously, the ChatGPTs of the world and the Runways and DALLs of the world, obviously offering this access, this immense amount of just access to new tools, and figuring out, hey, how can I make the thing that I want to work better and more efficient, so I don't have to focus on the details. I can just templatize something or figure out easier how to create something, and then just use it and focus on the actual important parts of the things that I want to figure out. And the other side of the coin is always the brands, right? Like, how can they actually, either internally or externally facing, implement these tools and these new ways of thinking of how either be more productive or just create something that invites other users in to co-create something. So there's lots of ways we're seeing currently just the way of content creation change, the entire landscape of who has access to it, the amount of information that can actually be created, shared, and then what do you actually do with that, right? That's the more important question. Are you just creating something for the sake of creating, or are you actually able to do something with it? So I'd say that's what the main part.
And when you work with a lot of these brands, you consult them on their innovation strategy, but what kind of questions do you typically get from innovations departments? I mean, in what ways are, because I guess there's really two sides of this, as you said. There's the bottom up, and there's a bit of like the top down, right? Yeah. And so, what kind of questions are a lot of these brands asking? What kind of trends are they trying to tap into?
Yeah, I mean, for right now, I think as with any trend, they want to understand what it is. Hey, what are you seeing? That's the general question. But looking a little bit deeper, it's mostly, okay, what are all the other brands doing that would set them apart, right? Everyone wants to be ahead of the game. And what I like to drill that conversation down to is more a conversation around how can you figure out what your competitive advantage is. So the questions would then be, okay, what are the tools? Who are the big players in that space that can enable me to do something better or different? So may it be the tech platforms or any new features that they can integrate into something that's already there or build on top of, right? So there's lots of ways to hopefully have a conversation and ask the questions around where are you today? What do you need to do and implement within the next 3 to 5 years in order to stay ahead and have that competitive advantage also stay, on top in the next 5 years? So just making sure they understand, like, from obviously the safety rules, all the questions that we have in that regard as well, how to effectively use these kind of tools, who are the players, to what can they do within their specific vertical or industry to make it make sense for them. Because not every tool that's out there needs to be implemented, but it's good to be aware and then figure out, okay, what are the steps that are actually important to that particular brand.
And Giovanni, I'm sure you're thinking a lot about this as well in terms of, you're creating the infrastructure for creators to, in essence, create, but also you're constantly likely talking to users about what they need, talking to potential clients, potential customers. What clients do you see being most interested in your technology, whether now or as the technology evolves? How will that shift?
Well, I think we took a very interesting angle, I would say. Most of projects in this metaverse / gaming and so on try to talk with many very big game studios, try to change their minds on how things are made and how things are done. Instead, what we actually decided to aim, because at the end of the day we are a small startup, we're not a huge startup that can target everybody, we have to pick one. The clients, so first of all, are small creators. So I think look at streamers, look at YouTubers, look at even Instagram creators or content creators, which is also UGC. Most of these people are alone in a room in many instances, and so it's not like as big game studios. So targeting these was natural because the way we are building and the things we're building is to allow them to achieve ease of creation. And most of all, these people, all they look is making a living out of what they do and passionate about. So yeah, for us, this is mainly the target. And indeed, what they are more interested. I know that you asked me about technology, but actually, what they're more interested is making a living out of it. So how do we build the technology to allow them to do that? Is the real question for us. And yeah, so basically, the solution is revolutioning the way games, in our instance, in our case, are created. AI obviously allowed us to, propel. We are using it mainly right now for coding, so scripting and generating, allowing people that never coded before to actually fill a huge page of actual code that actually is functional and in our engine runs scripts that allow to create all sorts of amazing things. It's quite a sight, and these people are the number one users. And we're building the tool for the next generation. We're not building a tool for the current generation. So that's why also this is very important actually to consider. So yeah, but yeah, to remark the answer to your question is, I think that the most interesting thing that apart from technology is actually making a living, and how do we build the technology to allow them that is the key.
Right. And maybe that's a good opportunity for you to come in, Christina. So speaking about infrastructure and the way in which a lot of these technologies are changing the way that things are created, things are developed. You did a PhD in digital twins, particularly in the metaverse. So I just wanted to know a little bit about how you think a lot of these technologies that have just been spoken about by Jessica, by Giovanni, what opportunities might they bring for visualizing real world spaces in virtual space? How might a lot of these technologies, particularly generative AI, kind of change the way that we, understand the way that we consume content?
It's a really interesting question you're talking about. I can give you a real world example, which is called Digital Earth. And it was created by the European Commission, spent about 300 million euros. So they use large scales of digital twin to simulate how climate change in different parts of the world is going to be, mitigated based on real world data. So that's actually having a significant impact to help decision makers, scientists, and also civil, engagement to allow citizens to get involved and contribute towards climate change on a daily basis, which is quite exciting. And the visualization they are doing is much larger than the traditional built environments we are familiar with. And of course, there are a lot of interesting examples of using metaverse and digital twins to do smart city development. And one typical example is taking place in Saudi Arabia. There is a project called NEO. Many of you probably have heard. So the government is spending about several $100 billion to create the future city, and they're currently building about 18 different metaverse. So they get the NEOM project in the metaverse with its digital replica to do all the different scenarios for testing, traffic control, pollution control, and environment, design, and also public engagement. Get everything or test it out in the metaverse, in the digital twin model, and then they start to construct it, find the most optimized, the most cost-effective business model moving forward. So that's quite significant. And of course, there are examples in Dubai, in Seoul, in South Korea, in Guangzhou, the knowledge city, and many other places. So I think the technology is already quite matured, but the issue is previously it requires a very significant amount of investment. But with generative AI, what we start to see is you can actually using text to generate digital models instantly. That's still early stage of the application, but I think very quickly we are going to have text to digital twin of any kind of models you want to build. So that will be quite significant.
And how do you think that governments and larger institutions are adapting to a lot of these technologies? Just like I asked Jessica, what questions she's getting from a lot of innovation departments. I'd like to know from you, what kind of questions do larger institutions that you consult with ask about? What kind of things are they interested in, curious about, worried about even? Christina.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were asking Jessica.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and I think the biggest issues the government is worried about at this moment is intellectual property rights and online safety. So I was at a meeting with Interpol a few days ago, and we're talking about how we can set up a regulatory framework internationally to ensure online safety of metaverse and Web3 moving forward. So one of the questions we discussed is the dark web and the deep web versus the clean web. Because everyone knows the metaverse is considered as the next generation of the internet, which is more immersive, interactive, and intuitive. And a lot of discussion we are talking about now on metaverse is mainly focusing on the 5% of the internet, which is indexed. So it can be searched within Google, Bing, and other search engines, while there are another 95% of the internet, which is not indexed and is not really accessible to the general public on a daily basis. They are called deep web. And among the deep web, there is another 5% called dark web that's full of criminal activities. So when we are focusing on the 5% clean web, talking about metaverse-related online safety, what about the other 95%, especially the 5% dark web? How can we ensure online safety and proper measures are in place to ensure the participant didn't get into any kind of danger or issue? So I think that's one major issue we need to look at. And of course, another major issue is about privacy and data security. I give you one extreme example. Everyone knows Elon Musk is really keen about the neural links. Basically, put a computer chip in your brain to create truly immersive user interface. But we know at the start, he mainly focusing on people with strong medical conditions. Say if they are blind, he wants to use the computer chips to bring vision back to those people, which is brilliant. But his next step, according to some news, he wants to use kind of computer chips to really provide user with ultimate immersive experience, which can be hugely controversial, because I don't know if any of you who are here today will feel comfortable to have computer chips in your brain to connect seamlessly on the metaverse to have this kind of immersion. A lot of people will feel uncomfortable. So I think there are a lot of issues, but also at the same time, it's quite interesting.
Yeah, so the question of privacy is one that at Outlier we're quite interested in and quite passionate about, and I think that that's really where Web3 has a really good opportunity to kind of provide a bit of a trust layer, and I'm really keen to get back into that one in a little bit. But maybe before that, let's dive a little bit into the implications a lot of these technologies for media. Let's talk a little bit about how generative AI can evolve the way that we produce content to meet the demands and preferences of modern audiences. So I know, for instance, a lot of the work that you do, Giovanni, at Fragnova involves or can potentially be used down the line to create more custom, more generative experiences where users, particularly gamers, can be a little bit more involved in the way that they experience content. Maybe that's a good place to start. Maybe could you tell us a little bit about how you're building the infrastructure for Generation Z, Generation Alpha to have more interactive game experiences?
Yeah, sure. Like recently I learned this Generation Alpha. I guess I don't even know what generation am I. And I learned that I have two daughters that are Generation Alpha. So you see, I'm building a technology because I'm a passionate father, and like I'm building it with love. So, so basically, again, I'll go back a little bit I'll start with the Web3 part of it, I suppose. So I believe that the foundation has to be decentralized. And what we are seeing right now, actually, with this AI, how can I define it? Boom, or whatever you want to call it, this AI strong cycle. What I'm seeing is lots of silos being built. All of these companies and all of these startups creating new AI products are building small black boxes ecosystems, lots of silos, lots of information. I was talking like today with my team that you get these prompts and they gather all of these data from your company, possibly. Like there's lots of private data being and all of these random companies are gathering random data that potentially can explode in so many ways. So but when going back to the decentralized part that I mentioned, I think we should always, that's I guess the principle of Web3 is building community and not being owned by the product, not being the product, but own what the product itself. So the ownership model itself, and all of like being decentralized and not the silo also encourages lots of innovation, competition, and so on. So that's the reason why in our product with Fragnova, the foundation is a blockchain itself, but which is a non-generic blockchain though. It's very much oriented towards gaming. It's oriented towards being this, how can we define it, decentralized ledger of assets where creators upload their creation, share it, they share revenue. I'll give an example specific to since the topic we talk often about AI in this panel. One of the use cases that literally people on Fragnova could upload training data. Somebody else could train the model and they upload the finished model. Somebody else uses the model and in turn, all of these three phases can, the ownership of the final asset is always recognized between all these three phases, and the distribution, the royalties are being distributed fairly. The rev share is distributed fairly to all of these three steps, which is I think it was quite a big topic in the beginning with Stable Diffusion. When Stable Diffusion came out, like or Midjourney, like nobody knows what data they trained those pictures on, and there were lots of artists saying, "Oh yeah, you remember a few months ago what was it? No AI." There were everybody like flagging this no AI left and right. So you see, basically this is one of the problems just right there being addressed. So this bottom-up approach, and like I said, that generation alpha is, I mean, what's the benchmark for generation alpha? I guess it's TikTok. It's this kind of very twitchy content that you have consumed too fast. Is there anything as another benchmark? And so basically, if you measure against this, you have to build a product, and that's a bit what we're doing. Again, not to go back always to the product, but yeah, our game creation system cannot be like, you know, Unreal, Unity, which literally is made for other generations. So what we envision and what we're building actually, and we already have lots of stuff that is coming out soon, is literally a Google Docs for virtual experiences, something where where people can work together, everything stored on chain, and again, like I mentioned before, coding is the key for creating virtual experiences, and you know, AI can help a lot with that, and I think it's pretty great at it. So yeah, bottom-up approach, decentralized ledger of assets, and a game creation system on top of it. That's my recipe, and yeah, I hope it works for my daughters, you know.
Of course. Maybe this is a good opportunity to kind of, you know, now that we're already talking about decentralization, we're talking about privacy, and going off of, you know, what Christina was just talking about before, maybe this might be a good opportunity to talk about the privacy implications of AI. You know, we've talked a lot about, you know, a lot of companies operating in silo, a lot of companies, you know, having and owning massive amounts of data. You know, maybe a good way to kind of get into this topic is by asking Christina, what new opportunity or what challenges do you see coming out as a result of a lot of the amalgamation, the amassment of technology as a result of technologies like, or of information as a result of technologies like generative AI? Maybe if you want to touch on, you know, the concerns of institutions and governments, if at all, about a lot of these technologies.
I think from the government's perspective, they're always talking about standardization. So the standardization can be applied to data, because once you have large amount of data you use to train generative AI or generate digital twins or create metaverse, Web3, etc., how can you ensure they are actually interoperable? So there has been a lot of different international alliances set up to try to address that, which I think is quite important. And another area I think we need to looking at is the environment impact, because everyone knows the amount of energy consumption to generate, like OpenAI or the ChatGPT related like app is hugely like consuming in terms of carbon footprint. So we really want to, you know, create a world full of very smart machines and destroy our planet at the same time? Is that in line with the 17 UN SDGs? And I think there hasn't been a proper global empirical analysis to looking at a proper objective, like analysis on the environment impact versus the simulated, like digital twin, how that's going to help to minimize and mitigate climate change. That needs to be done. And I think the third really important point I didn't mention previously is there has been a lot of debate and arguments and talking about who actually controls the IP when it is generated through generative AI. Will that IP belongs to the IP holder of whoever designs the generative AI, or it will be the manufacturer who take that to the market? Or will that be the individual creator who are using that generative AI app to create their masterpiece? There hasn't been very clear definition, so that also needs to be addressed. but I think there are also other interesting issues. But maybe those three are like the top concern of government and regulators at this moment. Yeah.
Right, right. And I guess keeping a lot of those concerns, a lot of those themes, a lot of those challenges in mind. Question for Giovanni and Jessica. If you, I mean, you're already doing this, Giovanni, but if you were to start from scratch, if you were to become a startup founder right now and have an open canvas to build a new product in the landscape, what areas do you think you would focus on? And are there any things that you would maybe, do differently? Any new areas that you think present, great opportunities that haven't been tapped into?
New areas, as a founder, I'm very much super laser focused on what I'm building. So what I can tell you though, and I think I mentioned already before, UGC is the key for the next market cycle. So I'll definitely stay to stick with the UGC, but like one of the things I would suggest to a startup founder right now, it really depends. If you're extremely passionate and you have a dream, and even if it's complex, just follow it. If not, and you're looking to do something interesting in general, this is the moment, and there's lots of opportunities with again, UGC, but also AI. And I think the biggest issue, and I think it's still the biggest issue even for Web3, I'd say, is user experience, smooth onboarding. Like I was saying, we are seeing all of these, with when they started and then stable diffusion. I even remember Jamie, which I always follow on Twitter. He was at some point was asking, how do I do this? How do I do that? With it's very hard to actually use all of these tools. And you're bombarded every day with new tweets. Hey, I made a new tool. It's amazing, and everybody else is following. It's super amazing, but how do you use it? So there's a very complicated, smooth onboarding problem and user experience problem, and it actually reflects even with those terrible wallets that get hacked and everything into Web3. So I would say UX, user experience. I mean, if you can win user experience with both of these fields, I think you're gonna be very successful in general. So yeah, that would be my guess.
And Jessica, if you were a creator, startup founder, where would you start? What would you focus on?
That's such a hard question. I think there's so much opportunity. Actually, it's a matter of, I would probably put it on a spectrum. One is a very easy, fairly straightforward, right? It doesn't always need to be complex, but finding the one thing that makes it easier to do the things that already exist. Like even if it's just consolidating all these different tools and making it just the user experience easy, but like a plug and play, super easy tool that everyone can use, and that just does the trick, right? On the other side of that spectrum is the more complex scenario where I'm thinking through my marketing hat is starting of think about all of those customer experience chatbot scenarios that have been around for over a decade, but still no one has been able to actually figure out how to make them work in a good way. And leveling that up even further, if you think about the implications for avatars or any virtual influencers, right? Like an AI-powered branded opportunity for to walk around somewhere, but really actually working, functioning, and feeling like I'm talking to a human. Creating something like that would be massively impactful. Very difficult. Clearly, we have not nailed that one yet. But that would be sort of one of those aspirational goals. So finding out, if there's an easy way in, and then doing that really, really well, and or building something else that just sets us up and puts us into a different level.
Great, yeah. I think maybe that's a really good place to kind of start to wind down, start to conclude. So I guess more broadly, what I can say about this panel is that we heard from Giovanni on kind of the builder landscape, the new technologies that are coming out. Jessica, a lot of your work is being able to see the people that are taking those technologies and how they're starting to use them. And Christina, a lot of your work has to do with how, larger kind of more high level institutions, governments, international institutions are trying to regulate or at least play with and understand the impacts of that technology on society. I think that's really the crux of the conversation. And I think that I wanted to thank you all for providing, really three sides of this triangle on such an important question. I think more broadly from all of us at Outlier, we wanted to thank all our panelists, you three, plus Timmu, Toke, all of the participants that are watching. And most importantly, we would like to thank and congratulate all of the teams. Congratulations for finishing, your 12-week base camp. It's been really great to see you all kind of grow and develop. You form the bedrock of all the work we do here as a founder-first organization. And I think that more broadly, events like this, we're hoping that they serve to inspire debate and give focus and energy on a lot of the future of the Web3 space. If you want to get more involved, got a few ways. If you're building Web3, we're about to kick off recruitment for the next cycle of programs. Feel free to check out our website. And if you want to learn more about Outlier, also check out our website, outlierventures.io. We'll follow up with all attendees, panelists, everyone who joined soon. But again, just wanted to end on, thankful note and very hopeful note.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.